Hey there, welcome to my channel, Happy Money Stories. I decided to create this channel to hopefully lighten the mood around the topic of money and investing. For this video, money mindset and unlocking your money story. Why is your mindset so important? It matters a lot. With our money, it is normal to have very strong emotions to it. Our money is tied to our survival. We need money for shelter. We need money for food. We need money for clothing. So it's completely normal to have very strong emotions and reactions when things happen with our money. That said, when you have these strong emotions, if you are managing your own investments, making decisions on whether or not to make a big purchase, you can't let those strong primal emotions make the decisions because it's not going to serve you in the future. But over time, we have experiences with money. Those experiences shape our thoughts and beliefs. And some of our strong negative emotions may have come from our prior experience. We have created stories or beliefs about money that are actually holding us back. I know some people may say, I'm not good with money. Money is confusing. Money is too hard. I just don't even like to think about money. And so you got to think, if you want to do well with money, you have to kind of unravel those thoughts and those stories. How do you unlock your money story? The first thing is to look at your past experiences. But you got to look at it like a scientist. Try your best to remove judgment from the situation. It may be hard, but kind of do a catalog of just the different experiences with money. I would argue that I know a lot of this is focused on negativity, but the good things and the bad. But think through your childhood. As a child, you may have lived, I had read somewhere, 4 different types of families. You may have not had enough money, and that's all everyone talked about. It was very negative. The way your family and dialogue around money was very negative, a lot of fear. You may have not had enough money, but no one talked about it. There was just some unsettled feeling about money, but it was never talked about. You may have had more than enough money and no one ever talked about it, or you may have more than enough money and it was the top of a conversation. I don't know what your upbringing was. My family, we may have had a few types of families based on when they were born. But just think about it. Think about your experiences as a child. Think about your experiences as a teenager, as a young adult. Think about when you started your career. We've all had experiences with money. We've all run into things where we had to kind of learn on our feet. And when you bring up these experiences, you got to kind of dissect them and just like a scientist, like what happened? What were the facts? And if there are situations, I know that there's stories or situations that you'd rather just keep in the back of your mind, you'd rather just ignore. So, any of those situations where it brings up pain, it brings up guilt or shame, it means that there's trauma. You've had trauma with your money and you haven't adequately processed that trauma. If you don't process that trauma, you haven't learned from the situation. You're essentially ignoring that pain. It's hard to move on and learn from these situations if you're not willing to move through the pain. So, you first need to kind of release this pain. So you bring up the story and you feel a physical sensation in your body. And so what most of us try and do is to distract ourselves. It's not comfortable, it's not fun, but just really feel where that sensation is, name the emotion, and just really focus on that sensation. Focus on where it physically is in your body, whether it's in your neck or in your chest, and just really focus on it and breathe through it. I'm not a yogi. I'm not a therapist. And so obviously you can reach out to other professionals if you're really struggling with this. But all I know is that if you resist this pain and you resist this trauma, it's still there and it's in the background. Or worse, it's quietly growing and you're kind of adding to this trauma. So you have to move through it. So hopefully some breathing and some quiet moments where you can kind of really process the emotions that these stories bring up. Give yourself time, Give yourself empathy. Now, for any one of these stories, I'd probably just, if you have, maybe you have a number of these stories that are bringing up emotions, maybe just take it one by one. And it'll take time, and do what works for you. But hopefully you have done a little bit of healing of that trauma. There has been a little detaching of that very strong negative emotion with that story. And you're able to start to pivot. You're able to look at that story from a different perspective. The next step is to reframe the story. Look at it from this new perspective. And I'm not suggesting that you pretend it didn't happen. I'm not suggesting you just erase the past and just kind of live in an illusion. It did happen. And I think if you told the story to most people, they would agree with you that it's probably awful, and couldn't believe that you were able, you want to have people that kind of hear this awful tale and they would agree with you. But I would suggest that you could change the title of your story. Everything that I've said so far has been really negative. I'm going to cue some music just for effect because I like to have fun. I've said struggle, pain, regret, fear, loss, shame. These are words that you would choose to use if you were writing a tragedy. It's awful. It's heart-wrenching. If you are in the middle of the story, you don't want to finish it because you're in the middle and it's awful and it's really painful. You kind of want to close the book and hide. But let's switch to a different track. If you think of the best stories, the ones that we turn to time and time again, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, there is a struggle. There is pain, but it works all towards the good of the main character. And it is that perspective of a hero's journey that makes those stories so enjoyable. Think of those stories that you have in your head. They've been rattling in your head. Either you've been ignoring them or you kind of bring them to life and it brings up a lot of emotion. But if you think of it like a hero's journey, you have showed strength, you have shown courage, you have overcome an obstacle. You may have overcome something that felt impossible. There were small miracles along the way, and you did a lot of learning in a short amount of time. You may have been learning while sprinting. You may be in the struggle today. The night is darkest before the dawn, and I promise the dawn is coming. And that is a direct quote from Gandalf at Helm's Deep. But you need to focus on the learning and the small miracles that have happened along the way. Focus on what's working in your favor. There are facts of the situation, but it's the story that we tell ourselves, whether it's a story from the past or your current situation or how you look towards the future. And that story will either fill you with regret and shame, or that story will fill you with empowerment and excitement and gratitude. That emotion drives your action. So you want to really think through, what kind of story do I want to tell myself? What type of results and circumstances do I want? Because it is the story that drives your emotion, and your emotion is fuel for your action. So you have to be very deliberate of what you want to believe about money. So just for fun, let's keep this momentum going. Let's focus on the good stories in your life. What have been your greatest windfalls with your money? What things went right? I want you to post in the comment below, but really think. Honestly, if you have access to shelter, clean running water, that is something that's in your favor. So as a summary, for your money mindset, these are the steps that you'd want to take. Dissect the events in your life. Your childhood, teenage, young adult, early career, middle career, wherever you're at, dissect the events in your life. And if there's something that you've been hiding from, you have to look at that and embrace and move through any negative emotion. Once you've reduced kind of that heightened negative emotion, look at it from a different perspective. Look at it from a hero's journey. And maybe even add some good background music. Add some John Williams to the background. And this is a story that you'd love to tell. This is a story that you could share with your kids and grandkids. Maybe it's something that before caused, regret, I did this wrong, but you are the hero of the story, and what you learned you can teach to others. I hope you like this video. Please share with your friends and family. This is when everyone asks for you to subscribe. I'm new. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this video. Remember, you write your own story, and this could be the beginning of your own happy money story. Bye.